Are you tired of paying high sewer bills every month? Are you considering buying a home with a septic tank, but you're not sure if it's the right choice for you? Some of the homes in our areas have septic tanks, and some of them have sewer systems. So this is a chance to see what the difference is between the two and see if you want a house with a septic or a sewer. So let's get started with what is a septic tank. Well, as you know, everything in your house that uses water goes out through one large pipe. So with the septic system, it goes into the tank first, which is either buried in the ground in either fiberglass, concrete, or many tanks in our area are still made of metal. So once they go through the tank, they go through a distribution box and into the drain field. The bacteria in the system eat up the organic matter and floatable matter. They separate each other. So the sludge sinks to the bottom and the oil and grease rise to the top. And between that is the water, and that flows out, the wastewater flows out through the distribution box to the field lines. And through the field lines, then they're slowly released out into the soil. The soil accepts it and treats it and disperses it, and it percolates through the soil. Sometimes, depending on the system, you might have a sand filtration system rather than soil. And most systems in our area are fed by gravity, so it just flows downhill. But if you live on a lake, you're going to need a pump because your tank is going to be in the backyard, and then you're going to have to pump it up to the front yard where your leach lines are. And that's in most lakefront lots, just for people that are going to be building houses. And then there are some other times that you're going to have a pump, just if you have a steep slope, maybe you're up on the river and you're way up high. And so it just depends. There's a few issues that might cause you to need the use of a pump. So a septic tank treats your wastewater on site, and you as the homeowner are completely responsible for the maintenance, for the repair, and replacement. So it does put a lot of stress on some people. On the other side, there's the sewer system. Same thing, your water goes out of your house, one main pipe, and then it gets directed to a street pipe, usually, where also the storm waters drain into, and then those pipes take it to the sewer system. So the whole system is included of drains, manholes, pumping stations, overflow stations, screening chambers. All of that completes the whole sewer system. So the sewage and the storm water ends up at the treatment plant, and then it's discharged into the environment. They treat it at the plant and change it into usable water. So with a sewer system, obviously, then you're going to pay a monthly fee, and that is so that you can have the city or the local government, whoever is the person in charge of that sewer system, they handle the maintenance, they handle the repairs, and when a bump needs to be replaced, then they handle the upgrades. This is also sometimes taken care of with taxes, either county or city taxes, that goes to that department out of their budget to help maintain the sewer system. So when talking about the difference between septic tank versus sewer, a big reason would be cost. Currently, I pay about $18 a month for the sewer system at my office here in Highland. So that's a little over $200 a year, a little over $2,000 every 10 years. So I want to look at 10 years or more, so $4,000 every 20 years, considering the life of a septic system, because we're talking about sewer versus septic. And the septic system, if it average lasts 20 to 30 years, obviously it's going to be about the same as the cost of the sewer system. But if you have a really well-built tank and well-designed concrete tank, it might last 100 years, so you'd be way ahead with the septic system. And even when you consider leach fields, they last about 50 years as long as they are under good care and normal conditions. So you'd only have to just replace the tank maybe every 30 years, and hopefully the field lines every 60 years. So in that condition, then your septic tank is going to save you a lot of money. But there are other systems that aren't as inexpensive as that. So you might want to there might be situations where you have to have a more expensive system installed. Like sometimes if your lot is small, or it's too close to water, or it's really rocky, those systems are going to cost more money. And then in that situation, a sewer system would be more economical. If you prefer just to pay a monthly fee and not worry about it, then the sewer system's for you. But if you're really talking about savings, in general, a gravity-fed septic system is going to be more cost savings. Another thing to consider when you're talking about septic tank versus sewer systems is the environmental impact. Obviously, we're putting waste into the environment, so we want to think about how that's going to affect that. And the first thing to think about is nutrient pollutions. Septic tanks can contribute a lot of pollution if they're not properly maintained. This can happen if you get excess nitrogen or phosphorus from the untreated wastewater that just goes through the soil and possibly into the local waterways, which can cause algae blooms and fish kills. On the other hand, sewer systems are designed to actually remove those nutrients and get all the bad stuff out of the wastewater before they reintroduce it into the environment. So that's why those systems are better. But when you think about water usage, sewer systems use a lot of water. They gotta flush all that water out of your house and all that water down the street pipes and all the way to the sewer treatment plant. So that's a lot of water. So you're thinking about the septic system, they don't use much at all. It just has to go to your house and there's a tank right there at your house. Yeah, some people might have a problem with it being at your house, but again, we're talking about saving water. So it's either at your house or somewhere nearby, so it's really not that much more difference. When you talk about energy, again, if you have a septic tank that doesn't have a pump, you're really not using any energy at all. Just to flush the toilet, just to run the washing machine, obviously, but we're talking about the water leaving the house and getting filtered. The septic system really doesn't have anything except maybe that pump. Now, on the other hand, the sewer system requires a significant amount of energy to operate the pumping stations and the treatment plants. And so that can contribute to a lot of greenhouse gases and emissions. Lastly, infrastructure and land use. Obviously, a sewer system is going to, like I said, you had all those pipes, all the manholes, everything that takes it to get to the treatment plant. Plus, the treatment plant is going to take up all that space to process that and everything like that, where a septic system is really pretty minimal. It's still underground, it's just the tank, and then the leach lines takes up a little bit more space. So you do have to think about that when you're building a house. If you have a half-acre lot and a septic tank and a D-box and the leach lines take up all that space, you only got so much space left to put a house. And so if you have a creek or a lake or a river nearby, you've got to stay so far away from that with the septic system. So yes, you're using less impression on the infrastructure and land use as a whole, but you still have to think about your lot and what is available to actually put the system in. So all of that can contribute to effects on the environment. So it just depends on how important that is to you and which way you feel is more effective in what you want to do with your waste. The most important thing with the septic system is to keep it living long, and to keep it up and going is to keep it maintained and upkept. It can be very expensive to replace a septic system, so proper maintenance is important. The more proactive you are in maintaining your system, the longer it will last. The most common malfunction is bad design and poor maintenance. Sometimes with the septic system, you'll have improper soil and it's just not percolating as it should. Or maybe you have that really deep slope, so you can be up on the mountain and have the great view, but then there's nowhere for the water to go to. Or maybe you're in an area where there's a high water table. Arkansas has a high water table. So again, like I said, it can be difficult sometimes to put a septic system in if the land that you're using has a lot of water, like a spring or a creek or the river or the lake. So to care for your septic system, you do want to, if you have a pump, make sure that you inspect it, make sure that it's working and like it's supposed to and pumping what it's supposed to pump, where it's supposed to go. And you also want to make sure that the system is using the water efficiently and it's probably disposing of the waste. And that means you as well as the system. So don't be putting things in the drain that don't belong in the drain. Grease is the worst thing for both septic and sewer systems. Just like our arteries, it clogs up the lines and makes it harder for things to go through, and it can cause backing up and flooding in your house, and it can cause backing up and flooding in your yard if that grease gets into the tank, if it gets into the field lines. There's so many pipes along that route, so it's one of the worst things. On the other hand, harsh chemicals can be just as bad for your septic system because you're killing that good bacteria that's eating all the organic matter. So you do want to tend to stay away from harsh bleach cleaners and drain cleaners and stay close to the line of vinegar and baking soda, kind of more natural cleaners. So I'm not telling you not to clean your toilet, but just be considerate about what you put in your septic tank to make sure that it keeps working. And lots of these can be for sewer systems too. You don't want to be causing the city or the county more expenses to cause your taxes to go up if you're putting stuff in the sewer system. You know, feminine products, baby wipes, diapers. You'd be surprised what people flush down the toilet. So another good thing to do to maintain your septic system is to use Riddex or Robix. And that's a bacterial enzyme that you add to your system. It helps break down the waste in the tanks. It also actually helps clean out some of the lines if you do have some grease or buildup, and sometimes even laundry soap can get built up inside the pipes and makes it so that the system continues to work. Some people recommend that you use that monthly. Just use it regularly, and especially if the system hasn't been used often, or if you have a vacation home that you're not in the home very often, those are great times to use that Riddex and Robic just to get it started again and make sure that it's going to be working properly for you. So how do you know when there is a problem with your septic system? Well, more than likely you're going to have some pooling in the yard because it's not going where it's supposed. The water's not going where it's supposed to be going. The pump's not working. The drain field lines are clogged up, something like that. That's where one of the first things that you'll see is when there's pooling in there. Or maybe like I said, the pump's not working. That can be not too hard of a fix if that pump just needs to be replaced so that the pumping can go back in, as long as it's not getting clogged up by the stuff that's supposed to sink to the bottom. But you don't want to pump too often. There's definitely an argument about that, to pump or not to pump. Some people say you should pump regularly every year, every 3 or 5 years, and that can prevent your system from getting backed up and clogged and having things that aren't supposed to be in the drain field get out there. However, if you pump too often, you're going to get rid of that good bacteria that's in there that's eating the organic matter and keeping the drain field clean. So you just want to make sure with your septic system that the sludge stays down and the floaters float and the water goes out. So that's the most important part. So in my opinion, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. But do maintain it. The Robix and Riddex are really good products, but you don't have to pump unless it's really necessary. But that is something that will often come up when you're buying or selling a home, that a buyer will want the septic tank pumped. And so that is something the seller needs to be aware, that a buyer may ask for that. Doesn't mean that they have to agree to do it. They can do it after they buy the home. But sometimes buyers feel like it needs to be done so it's on a fresh slate when they come into the house. So just be prepared for that if you're buying or selling a home. Now that you have information about septic tank versus sewer, you can decide what is right for you and your own situation and consider the pros and cons of each system before making a decision. Personally, I am happy with the septic tank at my home, and I know it is a large expense to fix when problems come up, but that's what the emergency fund is for. And I will maintain the system regularly, and it will likely come out with me saving money and helping the environment. So do your research so you can make an informed decision about which system is best for you and your family. If you like saving money, check out this video, Energy Efficient Improvements. Thanks for watching and have a blessed day.